What if you woke up one morning to find out you weren't solving the case, you were the case? A retired professor is found dead. No wounds, no struggle, just silence and blood that isn't his. Officer Collins thought it was murder, but the truth was something much darker, something buried deep, something programmed. Some cases stay with you. The smells, the sounds, the colors of the walls when you walk in. And sometimes it's the silence, the kind that feels like it's watching you. This one started with a welfare check. Tuesday, 6:12 p.m. Dispatch call. Possible DOA. Neighbor reports foul odor, mail piling up. 14 Birch Street. Resident, Glenn Morrow. Male, 63. I responded solo. Birch was a quiet cul-de-sac on the north side. Retired folks, tidy lawns, porch flags. I knew Morrow by name. Lived alone, no priors, no visitors. I knocked twice, no answer. The mail slot reeked. Sweet and rotting. One of those smells that wraps around your teeth. I radioed, Unit 213 requesting forced entry, possible 1056. A neighbor handed me the spare key. I stepped inside. The place was dark. Blinds shut, air heavy. I moved slow, hand on my sidearm. Living room, untouched. Kitchen, stale dishes, microwave blinking, 12. Then I reached the hallway. The bedroom door was half open. That's where I found him. Glenn Morrow was lying on his back in bed, eyes open, mouth slightly agape. No signs of trauma at first glance. But the sheets were wrong. Tucked too perfectly, hands folded across his chest. Like someone staged it. I moved closer. That's when I saw the blood. Not on him, but on the floorboards beside the bed. A trail. Dried. Leading to the hallway closet. I backed up and called it in. Confirmed DOA. Suspicious. I need CSU and medical examiner on site ASAP. While I waited, I followed the blood trail. It ended at the base of the closet. I opened it. Inside, neatly folded, were 3 sets of men's clothes. Not Glenn's. Wrong sizes. Wrong style. Tucked under the pile was a Polaroid, grainy and yellowed. It showed Glenn, smiling, standing beside a man I didn't recognize. No date, no handwriting, just an eerie vibe. The coroner ruled the cause of death as undetermined. No bruising, no wounds, no drugs or poisons, no heart attack. It was like he just stopped. I stayed late that night flipping through Glenn's old file. Nothing. No history of illness, no relatives, no work record in the last 15 years. He was a ghost. Then, I ran the photo through facial recognition. The man beside Glenn? Edward Blake. Died 7 years ago. Also ruled undetermined. Same sleeping position, same folded hands. Same blood on the floor that didn't come from them. That's when I knew this wasn't just a death. It was a message, and whoever was behind it was still out there. Most murders scream at you. Rage in the walls, broken things, blood where it shouldn't be. This one whispered. The forensics team combed Morrow's house for hours. No fingerprints other than his. No forced entry. No foreign DNA. The blood on the floor? Human. Male. But it didn't match Glenn Morrow. Someone bled there, but it wasn't the victim. I sat in the precinct at 2 a.m., lights low, sipping burnt coffee and staring at the Polaroid. Glenn and Edward Blake, two dead men, same pose, same conditions. No wounds, no signs of a struggle, blood on the floor. I pulled Blake's file. He'd lived in a neighboring county, same type of house, same age group, also reclusive. The responding officer at the time chalked it up to natural causes. Case closed in 2018, no investigation. I called the Emmy who signed off on Blake's death. She retired last year. I tracked her down anyway. I asked if anything about that case felt off. She was quiet for a beat, then said, "You ever see a man die so still it looks like he rehearsed it?" I asked what she meant. No tension in the limbs, no fear on his face, just peace. Like he expected it. She never found a cause of death either. Now I had two victims, 7 years apart, connected by one photo. I needed to know who took it. I scanned the reverse again. Under the right light, there were faint fingerprints in dust, unreadable, but recent. And that wasn't all. The carpet under Morrow's bed had been cut and re-sewn, as if someone had lifted it and placed something underneath. We tore it up. Underneath was a metal hatch bolted into the floorboards. It led to a crawl space, not listed on any house plans. I descended with a flashlight, a heart hammering in my chest. It was just tall enough to crawl. Cobwebs, dirt, insulation, and near the far wall, a canvas bag, sealed tight with twine. Inside was a small tape recorder, 2 more Polaroids, both of Glenn with different men, and a folded sheet of paper, old, wrinkled, smelling faintly of vinegar. I unfolded it. It was a list, 5 names. 2 were already dead, Morrow, Blake. 3 remained. Each name had a date next to it. Morrow's matched his death, Blake's too. The next one, August 17th, 3 days from now. The name, Donald Reeve. I ran it through our system. Address, 43 Palmer Street. Retired professor, age 66. Lives alone. I grabbed my keys. If this list was real, Reeve had 72 hours. I had to find him. And whoever was crossing these names off. I didn't sleep, just drove straight to Palmer Street. It was still dark when I parked outside. 4:42 a.m. The kind of quiet where even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Reeves' house was similar to Morrow's. Neat yard, porch light on, blinds drawn. The kind of house you drive past without noticing, the kind people disappear inside. I knocked twice. No answer. I knocked harder. "Mr. Reeve, this is Officer Collins with Lakehurst PD. I need to speak with you, urgently." The porch light flickered. Then a voice, muffled and cautious. "Do you have badge?" I held it up to the peephole. Locks clattered. The door creaked open. Donald Reeve looked like a man who hadn't slept in years. Deep lines under his eyes, skin pale, frame thin. He held the door with one trembling hand and stared at me like I was death itself. "You're not the first one to come asking," he said quietly. That stopped me cold. "Who else came?" He opened the door fully and let me in. The house smelled like old paper and dust. Books stacked waist-high in the hallway, curtains drawn tight. Every clock in the place had been unplugged. Something about that felt intentional. "I saw Glenn's name on the news," Reeve said, leading me to a cluttered living room. "I knew I'd be next." I handed him the list I found under Morrow's floor. He didn't even flinch. "I figured it would end like this," he whispered. I sat across from him. "What is this list? How do you know the others?" He closed his eyes. "We were part of something. A program, years ago. Not official, not public. We volunteered." "Volunteered for what?" He looked at me then, something cold and sunken in his stare. Silence. He didn't elaborate. He just got up, shuffled to the fireplace, and pulled out a hidden drawer behind a panel. Inside was a small wooden box with a brass clasp. He opened it and removed a cassette tape, identical to the one found beneath Morrow's house. He said, "Mine arrived last week. No return address. Just this." I took the tape. No label. Just a number etched into the side. 03. I played it on his old stereo. At first, nothing. Just static. Then, faint breathing. Then a voice. My voice. "Donald Reeve, August 17th. The time is 4:42 a.m. You're going to let him in." I stopped the tape. The air drained from the room. Reeve was frozen, lips parted, trembling. "I never recorded that," I said. He just nodded. "I know." His hands were shaking violently now. "We never should have agreed. We thought we were helping. All they wanted was obedience. And now they're tying off loose ends." "Who?" I demanded. "Who are they?" He didn't answer. Just looked at the unplugged clocks. Time doesn't matter anymore. Not when it already knows what's coming. The fourth name on the list was Gerald Baines, a retired psychologist who'd once consulted with the Lakehurst Correctional Facility back in the early 90s. Public records showed he'd moved upstate 5 years ago, off-grid mostly. No phone, no email, nothing recent. But I wasn't giving up. Not after what I heard on that tape. Not after Reeve died the same way as Morrow. Same precision, same setup, same message. I ran the list against old PD archives. A few keywords finally brought something up. A sealed case from 1994, marked only with the code name, Operation Stillpoint. Of course, I couldn't access it, not even with my badge. So, I drove upstate. Baines's cabin was buried deep in the pines, 2 hours off any real road. No mailbox, no trail markers, just GPS coordinates Reeve had scribbled down in a notebook beside a collection of rotting newspapers and a .38 he never got to use. I arrived around 7 p.m. The sun was dipping, casting long shadows between the trees. The cabin was run down but intact. Windows intact, door locked. I knocked. No answer. But this time I wasn't waiting. I circled around back and found a side window pried open, old scuff marks on the sill. Someone had been here before me. I climbed in, weapon drawn. The inside looked like Reeves. Paper stacks, dead clocks, more dust than air. But no Baines. At least not alive. I found him in the bedroom, slumped at a desk, head resting on a thick manila folder. No blood this time. No signs of violence. Just stillness. A tape recorder sat next to him, blinking red. I pressed play. You don't know what we agreed to. You think you're investigating murders, but they're not murders. They're closures, final pages. We're just chapters being edited out. You can't stop it. You can only delay it. And by reading this, Officer Collins, you've moved your name up the list. Then the tape stopped. No sound. Just the mechanical click of the end spinning to silence.
I opened the folder. Inside, reports, letters, and black and white surveillance photos. Grainy shots of men, Reeve, Morrow, Baines, gathered at what looked like a remote medical facility. Another photo showed a group of children behind a glass wall. They were all wearing headphones, eyes closed, wires taped to their temples. A small sticky note on one file read, "Still point was never about control. It was about programming silence into guilt." And at the back of the folder was one more photo, one I didn't expect. Me. Younger, fresh-faced, from my academy days. No timestamp, no caption. Just a red circle around my head. And below it, potential monitor. If fails, activate protocol. I stared at that image for what felt like an hour. Then I heard a sound I'll never forget. A knock on the front door. 4 slow, heavy taps. Then silence. When I rushed out with my weapon raised, there was no one there. Just a single cassette tape on the porch. This one didn't have a number. Just my name.
I didn't play the tape right away. I took it home, locked every door, drew every curtain, sat in the dark for hours, tape clenched in my hand like a live wire. Around 2 a.m., I finally loaded it into an old tape deck, pressed play, and waited. Static. Then a voice, calm, level, unhurried. Not mine, not Reeve, someone else. By now you've opened the folder. You've seen the photos. You've heard the others. You've followed the trail to its end. Which means you're ready to remember. I felt something tighten in my chest, like the walls were listening. The voice continued. In 1998, you were part of a closed-session cognitive conditioning program. You don't remember. That's by design. Each subject in the program had potential to become a fail-safe, a sleeper. in case of exposure, in case the truth ever bled too far into public view. Some remembered too much. Reeve, Morrow, Baines. They were meant to be quiet. They chose to speak. So they were removed. Then silence again. Just the hiss of the tape. Then, but you, Officer Collins, you were our most stable subject. The protocol was never about murder. It was about silence, obedience, erasure. You are the quiet man. I stood frozen. The words weren't just on tape. They were in me, like I'd heard them before. Then I heard something I didn't expect. This is not a threat. It's an offer. You've proven capable, disciplined. You didn't break, even after seeing it all. So we're giving you a choice. Forget and return to your life. No more questions. No more tapes. Or continue down this path and become part of the next protocol, not as a detective, as a subject. The tape clicked. That was it. No instructions, no deadline, just the choice. I sat there until the sun came up. Didn't sleep. Didn't move.
That folder is still in my desk drawer, and the tape is buried beneath the floorboards. I haven't told anyone, not my partner, not my captain, not my sister, because if they're right, if they're still watching, then every word I say is another step toward being erased. But some nights, when the wind hits the windows just right, I think I hear knocking again. 4 slow taps. Same rhythm. Every time I stay in bed. Because I know what they mean. They're not asking for entry. They're reminding me. They never left.